I believe that everyone is muted at this point, but it's always the start of a Zoom meeting where I wonder if I have audio. So
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm gonna wait till 5 after.
Hi, I can't change my name right now. That's a little bit of a problem.
What do you
you
want?
should be good to go now.
Couple minutes. All right, I got 4 after, but want to get started? Call the meeting to order. Seth, do you still have background noise?
That was just incidental stuff that you were unmuted and I could hear you. So some folks seem to question whether or not
Okay.
we're able to hear, but it was just background noise. It wasn't bothering or anything.
All right. Okay, I'm in a quiet room by myself, so, okay. All right, thank you. All right, we're gonna get started. Tonight's format, I think, instead of the open format, we'll raise hands to be recognized. And could I get a volunteer to just point out to me if I don't see the raised hands? Just say there's someone with a hand up so that I don't miss anybody. Would anybody like to do that for me?
I can try to do it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't mind either.
you see a hand raised, just let me know.
All right.
All right.
A point of information, are we actually physically raising our hands or are we trying to use the Zoom reaction?
Well, either or is good for
Okay.
me. I could see you raise your hand, but the Zoom reaction, I might miss that. I'll see it. I guess I'd see it.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I think some people didn't have the Zoom reaction in the last meeting either, so
Okay.
I'll look for both.
All right. Thank you. Thanks. All right.
And it only gets cumbersome if we have more than one page of people. Right now, we only have one page, so it's a little bit easier.
Okay. All right. The first is the packet. I was brought to my attention. We should have all received an open meeting laws packet originally when we all got appointed. So there would have been no questions about what the emails that went back and forth. So we have sent out packets for everyone to read and sign and acknowledge that they understand. So please sign your copy and get it back. The sooner the better, but you know, as soon as possible. All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the previous meeting? They were put on, I think yesterday or today. Are there any corrections in the minutes or can I get an approval to accept the minutes? Somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I think Lisa had said something about the notes not being able to be approved this week because it was not posted as part of the.
So Lisa said she couldn't post them until I got them approved. So that's why they were sent out to you to
Okay.
read, so that tonight you could approve them.
Okay, great.
So then they will be posted, official.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
I think, Lisa, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just, Jim, you should probably just do a roll call to see who's in before you do anything else.
Okay, thank you.
I mean,
Let me get my list.
I have an alpha list, or if you want, whatever.
I have a list. I just have to dig it out.
No problem.
Thank you. It's because we're Zoom, we should. Okay, can I take attendance, please? Bree Brothers,
Here.
Dan Puccio,
Here.
Erin Genya,
Here.
Beth Fuller. I think Beth had a conflict, right? So Beth's not here.
Was here.
Great. Excuse me?
There.
She's here. She's just she's muted.
All right, I'm sorry. Oh, I see she's here. I'm sorry. Thank you. Beth is here. Grace Caldera.
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Henrik,
Here.
Jim Lister here. Kenneth Mallon,
Here.
Kristen Scalisi,
Here.
Laura Rotolo.
Here.
Thank you. Leroy LaFleur,
I am here.
Lou Topper,
Here.
Maria Rocha,
Here.
Melissa McGowan,
Present.
Patrick McCabe,
Here.
Paul Donato Jr.,
Yeah.
Ron Giovino,
Here.
Seth Hill,
Here.
Kathy Kay,
Present?
Matthew Habestraw,
Here.
Caitlin Shaughnessy,
I don't
Caitlin
see her.
here?
I think she might be late again tonight.
Okay. Thank you. Janelle Garland McKenzie
Here.
and Josie DeFore.
Here.
All right, thank you. So everybody but Caitlin right now. Okay, thank you. Back to the minutes. Everyone's had a chance to read the minutes? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Motion, can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. Whoever approved, can you say your name and the second? Because I have to record that and I'm
Okay.
sorry. Oh, everybody yet, okay?
All right, so the motion was made.
We'll have to take a roll call. Okay, sorry, bye.
Okay. That's all right. Lou, did you make the motion?
I did. Lou and Topper.
Okay. And who seconded it?
Maldonado Jr.
I'm sorry, who seconded the motion?
Maldonado Jr.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, now I'll go down the list for a roll call, I guess.
Mr. Chair, I have a correction to make to the minutes, though.
Yes,
The motion that I made was not captured. Looks like it's a partial motion.
Who is that?
What's that?
Who's speaking right now?
This is Patrick McCabe speaking.
Okay, if you can send me what you'd like, add it. Grace sent me hers and Laura sent me hers. And that's what I've done with school committee as well. So if you can send me the motion the way you want it, I will amend it in the notes and you guys can choose to accept it with that amendment, or you can table the notes and
No, I withdraw that proposed amendment. We need to keep things moving.
right.
Yeah,
Just
let's keep it moving.
motion now into
okay,
the committee. Please send
take a roll call.
your words, okay?
Okay, roll call, right?
Yes.
Lisa, you're coming in broken. I'm getting half of what you're saying, sorry.
I think because I played with the mute button. No, I just mean in the future and every meeting, just so everybody's aware, if you make a motion, please send me your wording after the meeting so it's appropriate in the notes, okay?
All right, sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so on the motion to approve the minutes, Bree Brothers,
Yes.
Dan Puccio, Dan Puccio.
He's
He's
saying,
giving the thumbs up.
Giving a
I'm
thumbs
sorry,
up.
I'm sorry. I don't see him on my screen. Aaron Genya,
I think he needs to be made a co-host. Okay, someone just did that.
yes.
Beth Fuller,
Yes.
Grace Caldera,
Yes.
Hendrick,
Yes.
did I miss that? Okay.
Yeah.
Hendrick, could you pronounce your last name for me? I'm sorry, I'm afraid to.
Sure. It's Gideon's. So just put your thumb over the E and then it makes much more sense.
Okay,
The E is pesky.
Gideon's. All right, thank you.
Yep.
The chair votes yes. Kenneth Mallon,
Yes.
Kristen Scalisi,
Yes.
Laura Rotolo, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Laura Rotolo,
Laura's muted.
Thank you. I wasn't able to unmute for a minute. It was telling me the host has disabled that, but yes.
okay, thank you. Lou and Topper,
Yes.
Maria Rocha,
Yes.
Melissa McGill,
She
She
can
gave,
unmute.
she gave a thumbs up.
okay. Patrick,
Aye.
Paul,
Yes.
Ronald,
Yes.
Seth,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Caitlin, she's not here. Chanel,
Yes.
Josie.
Yes.
Okay,
I don't know if you called me, but yes.
thank you. All right. All right, the rubrics results were out today. Before I get into that, there was a mistake. I'm responsible for Arthur Della Russo was taken off the list before we moved our list. There's an Arthur Della Russo and a Frederick Della Russo, and they were both past mayors of the city of Medford. And there was some confusion as to Alfred, who's still alive. And that's why the names were taken off, the name was taken off the list. So I would ask that, in all fairness, after we come up with our top 7 or 8, that we add Arthur Delarusso's name back to the list for further consideration. Does anyone have a problem with that?
Point of information.
Yes.
It was my understanding that we had come up with a list of top 15 per the resolution we
We
voted
can
on.
agree on 15, that's fine. I mean, did you see the way the grades worked out? We had a top 10, but we can talk 15. I have no problem with that.
And I'll raise my hand, sorry.
Yes,
Yeah, so I think the way that the top 15 falls out is there's 3 people tied for 15, so there's no tiebreaker. So that would give us 17, and I guess I think that's a smart way to look at it, Jim, is that we just automatically put Al Delarusso, you know, so my recommendation, I'd say, you know, I'd like to make a motion that we have 18 names, the top 15, which turns out to be 17, and then Al Delarusso gets added to that list for our discussion.
okay, it's for clarification, it's Arthur Delarusso was the name submitted.
Arthur, yes.
And, you know, there is also a Frederick that was mayor, but we're talking about Arthur, so.
So my motion would be to include the top 17 on the score sheet and then Arthur Delarusso for the consideration for the rest of the night.
Okay. Is
And
there
for point
is there
of,
a second? I'm sorry.
just a point of information for folks to reference the sheet, that would take us up to Achi Sulo, those 17.
Can we, before we do that, let me get a second if this is gonna go, and then we'll discuss it, okay?
Who made the motion?
Patrick McCabe.
Patrick McCabe.
Am I able to ask a question about the list?
Let me get a second first, and then we will discuss it, okay?
I can
Point
second.
of,
Okay.
point of,
we have a second.
point of information.
Yes,
There's a resolution on our agenda that addresses part of this piece. So in order of, I think we should separate the Arthur Delarusso being added as a finalist resolution from what number we're going to settle on. So that would be my suggestion. I think we should just
that would be
separate.
an amendment to this motion, then I would say.
Well, I would say if somebody wants to make a resolution that Arthur Delarusso is automatically a finalist, whatever number it is, we should be able to vote on that. But
So
to
why don't we
go,
vote, yeah, why don't we have a motion for the 15 to be 17, and then Arthur was added after the fact. So why don't we vote on Arthur first?
point of information, I don't want to make this any lengthier. There's a resolution on the agenda that talks about 10. So I don't want to jump the gun here, but you know, the resolution talks about 10. If we vote on 15, you know, I just think we need to do the Arthur Delarusso thing, and then we can come together on a number that we want.
And I do have a point of information as well. It wasn't one of my names to vet, but I did see a Delarusso on the list. Was that not the one we're talking about?
It is, but it came off when we were talking about living in the.
It was not assigned to a member, is the way
Oh, okay.
to be rated.
Okay.
So
Maria has her hand up.
to,
So hold on, Pat.
Yep.
Who had the hand up?
Maria does.
Maria.
I don't understand why we would be automatically adding Delarusso to the finalists. I feel as though we had a procedure in terms of research, and I understand not wanting to prolong this process. However, it feels unwise for us to just simply add a name because it got cut off, and that can get dicey in terms of like how other names
Left off accidentally, and a remedy would be to add it at this point. Another remedy would be to scrap the whole thing and do it over.
Point of information, Mr. Lister.
Yes.
I just want to clarify, you're saying it was left off on this, on the
Was
final.
mistakenly taken off as living.
Okay, I understand, but are you saying that he actually made this list of top 15, AKA 17? Did he make that list, that top list?
He wasn't even on the list of people to be vetted because he was eliminated before.
Okay.
That's all. I'm just, you know,
Sure.
put it
I
back
see
on
you,
and
Ron.
then-
I see you, Ron. I also have my hand up. I think my question is similar to the one that was just asked. So what I'm hearing is that he hasn't been scored at all, and it does seem a little bit odd to add him into the scoring if he has not been scored at all, considering that everybody else has been scored.
Correct.
So the reason why I'm putting forward that motion is in the spirit of moving forward as quickly as possible. I think that, you know, the only alternative, I don't think the only alternative is scrapping. I mean, we could assign 5 people randomly and they can go off and rank this person, but we're going to lose 15, 20, 30 minutes while 5 people go back and rank this person. So that's
Correct.
the other alternative that I see is to spend, you know, 15 to 30 minutes for 5 people to do their assessment of him.
Ron has his hand up. Sorry, Ron.
Go ahead.
So I'm just thinking for the general public here and the person that we're missing, regardless of who the person was, it kind of voids the whole process because someone was taken out inappropriately. The only resolutions to my mind are what Jim has suggested, because we're going to have to, you know, the people on the top 15, some of us did not have any say on how they got to the 15. So they're on the list, whether you like them or not. We don't even know because only 25% of everybody got to vet that person. So the Arthur Della Russo omission is the only way to fix this is by putting him on as a finalist and go through the process just as another name. Otherwise, you are looking at scrapping it because it's completely invalid.
Right.
So-
Can we,
I agree.
can we vote on the
Nobody-
motion that we have to be 18? Is everybody else set with that? We can move this motion.
Did anyone second it?
Did I get a second?
Second, Grace.
Thank you.
Caldera.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion? We're all set on discussion? We got the
No
discussion before we
information,
got the
just
second.
The motion on the table is that instead of 15, we have a top 18, including Arthur Della Russo, or not including?
So it would be,
If you look at the list, there's
There's
if you look at
17,
the
right?
score for number 15, it's
Right.
the same score as number 16 and number 17, like Seth
Right.
had said, down to Achilles Sulu. So those would be 17, and then we would add Della Russo, so we would have 18 finalists.
So then
is-
I would have an amendment, a proposed amendment to Mr. Lister's motion would be that in the next few days, we assign randomly 5
Are-
people to,
But there's no, you can't propose any amendments now because there's a motion on the
Okay.
floor.
all right, so then this is just discussion, I suppose. Another idea would be to assign 5 people randomly to rank Arthur Della Russo, and if he receives a 9 or above, which would be tied, right, for the bottom 3, that he would be put automatically into the list, but only if he receives a 9 or above.
Thank you, Laura. I see Ron waving and raising.
Ron?
All right. So I have 2 points. First off, it doesn't cost anything to put Arthur Della Russo on the list. Number 1. Number 2 is, I don't know if you all looked at the schedule, but you know, to get to the end of the month and have a decision, this adds another piece to the prize. You know, we'd have to come back, we'd have to vote on the list, then we'd have to open it up to the public. But I'm also concerned that the way, you know, there is a resolution on our agenda that should come before any of this discussion about 17, 18, 19, 20. So again, my resolution, I think the resolution should be, does Arthur Della Russo become a finalist? That's one vote. Then we can move on to through the agenda.
But I think on the other one, Ron, I'm sorry, I'm going out of order. I think Josie had her hand up.
Josie?
Well, it was my understanding that the next step in the process was for us to look through the names that made the top 15, 18, and we would vote through those. So and the whole committee would score them. Whole committee would score them, and so if we added Arthur Della Russo's name onto it, I think it would be fine because we're still scoring him along with the names.
Thank you. So there's three resolutions on the floor tonight that also we did the rubrics. Now the next resolution involves, it's another exercise in looking at the names. And then there's two more that are offered that are exercises in survey and in, I believe the fourth one was to let the kids at the school vote. So I think they all play into, I don't want to get into debating the first list until we've had the other three exercises. So let's vote up this first one. We're in the middle of voting this, the 18 by inserting Arthur Della Russo number 18. Can we go through and vote this? And then we'll get on to the next resolution.
This point of information, I mean, I'm just trying to understand the rules. Last week, we went in order by resolution, and we took Dr. Grace's resolution first. This supersedes my resolution, so I have a concern with talking about 17 and 18. That may be the number, but there's a resolution out here that should be followed first. And
point of order. Are you, Ron, are you asking that we postpone this discussion until after your resolution has been voted on, or are we severing the motion?
So we have a motion. We have to vote the motion. It would be a no if you don't want to go through with the 18, and then we'll go to the next resolution.
Just point of information. I'm saying that procedurally we're in error. I don't care what the result is, but going forward, I think, we should be talking about severing the issue of Arthur Della Russo being a finalist, then move to my resolution, which will accomplish what all of you are looking for, which is settling on a number. But to jump my resolution, I just think is out of procedure from what we did last week.
Points of order, we need to go in what is already listed on the agenda, and thus we need to maintain that current order, which has first to collect, aggregate rubric evaluations from the community, and then discuss how to solicit public information. Then it comes to your resolution, and then resolution on public participation. So we can move to sever the current resolution and take up yours out of order, or we continue this discussion.
Point of information.
Point of order. The old business comes before new business. So the 17 is just a clarification of the motion that we made last week. The motion we made last week was for the top 15. So if you cut it off at the score where the top 15 is, there's two other people that are tied. There's three people that are tied. So it's just a clarification of the motion from last week is what the 17 is. So, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, as far as the argument about adding Della Russo being new business before the committee, but the 17 is just a clarification of the motion from last week. So if you want to, I can sever it, but I mean, I think it's totally in order for us to go down to 17 just to clarify that last week we said 15. And
It's-
number 16 and 17 are tied. They're all tied for 15. So
Can someone show me in the resolution, I don't have it in front of me, where it says the rating system will be binding to the top 15? I don't see that.
I don't think it, maybe I'm talking out of order. I don't think it says it is binding, but.
Nothing's binding.
Well, just the fact that we're making the top 17, those people, that means that rating system was binding, does it not?
Well, in that exercise. So let me say that, in that exercise, we're gonna
But
have.
there's no resolution on the table yet that says the top 15 rank there is the list. We don't have that.
No, it doesn't say.
There doesn't need to be excuse me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that since we already voted on this previous resolution that stated the top 15 or an event of a tie, this is what happens, that is a binding resolution that is bringing us forward, and that is what we're following. Until the resolution no longer exists, which it currently does, as we voted it in last week. And so that is what we're moving on.
And point of information, I just would like someone to show me where the resolution says that the fact that I did not get to rate all people on that list, that list becomes binding. I don't remember seeing it. If somebody wants to show me that we voted on it.
Everything we're doing is non-binding. This whole committee is non-binding.
No, I got it, but I don't remember it saying I understand the exercise. The final piece was the top 15 that were ranked were not necessarily going to be binding.
Right.
Right. So now you're saying that we're going to make 17, 18 of the top of that rating system binding. That's my point.
Point of order. So I'm just going to read from the resolution that we passed last week. Whether or not the information is binding or not, yes, we could put forward any names, but from a parliamentary procedure, this is what we passed. And number 5, the 15 submissions receiving the highest average score advanced to consideration by the whole advisory committee. We will then, in the event of a tie at the cutoff, all submissions advance. So we're going to, all of the committee is going to review all of the names that advance. Number 6, the advisory committee conducts additional research and solicits public input. Number 7.
I withdraw my motion. The motion of what we passed last week does bring us down to 17. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. All right, we're back to Arthur Della Russo. We want to hold him and go to the next resolution? Because it's part of Ron's resolution? Anybody's hand up? So can we?
I don't see any hands, but the glare on my screen has gotten horrible.
So we can move to Ron's resolution.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Especially with these, the local figures, there is not a lot about them, and I struggled to find information on some of the people whom I was assigned and was not that familiar with, but I was able to. I was just doing a search for Mr. Della Russo, and I can find practically nothing. So I don't even know how, we're expected to vote on some of these. The most information is on a website that looks like it was made by it's a nice way to say a muckraker. It's not, obviously not a legitimate source of information, and I wouldn't want to use that in my research, but how would we even go about, I struggle with that. And if we're going to put another person on to rank who there's not a lot of information about online, or how are we going to rank it? Before we rank more, how should we rank?
If we left him off inadvertently, if we put him back on, then through the process, he won't rise to the top of the list. He'll just get his viewing and research as best as we can.
I think I saw Lisa's hand.
Lisa,
If I could, Arthur Della Russo was a mayor. So information would be available in the city clerk's office and the Historical Society. The family itself has been here since forever. I think Arthur was one of the founding people for the Della Russo Funeral Home. So you could trace it. It's just a little bit extra on whomever gets assigned it. But the family, Arthur and Fred, were both mayors, and I know Fred was a state representative. So that stuff you can follow through governmental channels if you really need to get the background on paper. Somebody has to have it because they served on office and took an oath.
thank you.
I don't know if this would be considered a motion or what it would be considered, but would it be possible for however many people were in a group to randomly put people in a breakout room right now and do the research and then come back to us, or is that not legal?
I don't know if that's legal right now.
I see Dan's hand.
So my family has a pretty good history with the Della Russo family. And Arthur Della Russo, just so everyone knows, was the first Italian American alderman and mayor of Medford. I believe Frederick was his cousin, and Frederick's son more recently served on our city council for a numerous amount of years. My feeling personally is to eliminate or leave him off any list is a great disservice to that family who has been a part of Medford for, like Lisa said, forever. So if some folks don't know about the Della Russo family, maybe you're not qualified to vet that, that rubric on them. So that's my feeling. I don't think we should move forward without that name on the list. So I think whatever we need to do to make it happen would be a good thing. Would be the right thing to do.
I agree.
Can I get a motion to add it to the list?
Motion to add to the list.
We have more people with hands up.
Oh. Can I get, we got a motion. Can I get a second? And then we'll discuss it.
Patrick seconds.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, discussion, hands up. Ron.
My only point is putting him on is not a liability. Keeping him off in open meeting laws and the city of Medford public leaves us open to a lot of issues. So I don't think there's I don't think there's another resolution besides putting him on the list.
Okay. Anybody else? I saw other hands that aren't up again now.
Maria is up.
All right, Maria.
Well, I don't understand why we would just simply add a name to the list without having researched and vetted it preliminarily as we voted to in a motion.
I think it was explained it was accidentally left off. I mean, you give me an antidote other than doing the whole thing all over again. What's your answer?
I understand that it was left off accidentally, yet I do not believe that we should just be adding this name to the next step based off of the personal feelings of a few people on the committee. And it does not make sense to me why we could not just have a group of 5, as we did with every other name, research independently. I understand that might add a little time to the process, but well, it is only fair. It does not make any sense why we would allow Della Russo to jump the process when no other name did, even if it was out of an oversight, a logistical oversight.
Would you like to start the process all over again?
No. So we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any more discussion?
I see Seth's hand. I mean, there are other hands up, so I see Seth's hand.
Okay. I saw them and then I didn't see them.
keep
They
moving.
took them down. Seth, Hendrik and Seth, Ron, okay. Seth, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Seth Hill speaking. So parliamentary procedure is there to make things easier. It's not necessarily there to fully prevent mistakes. So there was a mistake made, we can fix it. But I think we also, in good faith, need to address how to make it more fair. So I think putting it on the list and perhaps also either assigning 5 people to where whether or not if those 5 randomly assigned folks come up with a score that doesn't necessarily meet the threshold that we're talking about now, that name will then drop. We also, whatever the next list that we are progressing with, all of us, all 23 members will be running the rubric according to my understanding of the motion passed last week. All 23 of us will be running the rubric on all 17 or 18 names.
I wasn't aware we were re-rubricing. That
That's
doesn't
what
say
I
we're
read.
doing it
So,
again.
Number 6, the advisory committee conducts additional research and solicits public input.
Yes,
Number
that
7,
doesn't necessarily mean re-rubric.
please. Number 7, all members of the advisory committee evaluate the remaining submissions according to the rubric. Evaluations previously made in step number 4 cannot be modified. That was what we passed.
Yes.
We have other hands up.
Yeah, I'm just reading that to make, that doesn't say we re-rubric though. That's taking the original rubric and discussing it, along with other input from the public, other resolutions that we may, or other exercises that we may take on. All right, whose hands up?
Patrick.
Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, I think,
Patrick, you're muted.
thank you. The issue is whether or not we have 5 of us look at this and then potentially 23 of us look at it, or just have 23 of us look at it now. So I guess my question to, I think it was Maria and Laura were talking about scoring them. I mean, what's the timeline in your head? When does that happen? As far as the process, because I understand your concern. It's just my concern as well is not to be held up another week. We wanted to get this done as quickly as possible in a fair way. So that's the question for Laura or Maria. Like, what's the timeline that you're talking about? Do we lose a week doing it the way that you're talking about?
I mean, I was hoping we could do it in the next few days, but now hearing Lisa Evangelista say that we need to go like a paper records, it might be a little tougher since there isn't something very easy to find online.
No, I didn't.
But certainly before the next.
Call the city clerk's office. I mean, they could probably send you an email if you needed it, but same thing with the state legislature. They could probably email you something, but yeah, you would probably have to get on the phone for the information. He did serve in the early 30s or 40s, so it is going to be paper. Unless the Historical Society has something in writing on their website.
I would say in the next, 2 days or so, if possible. I know that, we all did, we researched 14 people in just a few days. So I think we can certainly do it before the next meeting, maybe in the next 2 or 3 days.
I'd also like to state that quite literally in the time that we've spent discussing this, we could have had 5 people go and research and rubric. And I am in no way advocating that we delay the process. I And simply speaking, that in terms of fairness, it seems absurd to me that we would have this name just simply added to the top 15, especially if now we're introducing the question of whether or not we're going to re-rubric as an entire committee, because that was my understanding of the motion that we passed last week.
Any more discussion?
Ron's hand is up, and I believe there is a motion. Did you say there is a motion on the floor?
Motion for, yep, seconded.
And Matt is waving too.
Matt's
Also
waving.
has his hand up.
So Ron,
Yeah, just, you know, it doesn't have to be the Della Russo name. Put anybody's name in there, one of your top three, and assume what we would do because we failed to follow the process. What's just? We are all, again, all of us are going to vet every one of the finalists. We are all going to have input from the public coming to influence that. I just don't understand why one other name on that list, whoever it is, I don't care what the name is, we've failed the process, and now we're saying, you know, a process that is shaky to begin with, in my opinion. But now we're saying, okay, what do we do with this guy? And, you know, if you want to go and do the research in the next hour, which I think is fair, that you would take at least an hour, then I have another motion that would extend this beyond May 24th. I mean, I don't want to do this because it's fast. I want to do it because that name was left off this process, and easily to add him on the process, it doesn't influence anything. He could be number 18th when we vote. It's just, you know, I just don't understand what the issue is. And take out the Della Russo name, put any name in there that is in your top three, and then let's figure out how we would do that.
Matt?
Oh, I just wanted to mention that, you know, we didn't get our list of names to research anyway till what, Friday or something like that. So we met Tuesday, we didn't get to Friday. I'm sure Laura or whatever people are assigned to this name, it can happen in, you know, 48 hours, and we can have it in the group of 17 or 18 people we're gonna have. I don't see it really delaying the process much at all. And yeah, so that's all I really want to say. I don't think it'll delay much. I think it's a bad idea, but I also have to say that I feel a little uneasy about the people who knew the Del Russo's family, you know, buying for them, with all due respect. You know, there's nobody here talking about Bloomberg, let's say, okay? So I just want to make sure that we understand that some people are uncomfortable about people who know people really well in those families, which regardless of how important they are to the history of them.
okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Can we vote this up or down? Maybe then we can table. If we vote it down, we'll table Arthur Della Russo until we can have random generated, 5 generated, and then some scores submitted.
Somebody read the motion.
Other hands up.
There are 2 hands up.
Can I just pop in point of information with the rubric itself? The original motion does have the whole committee, again, kind of use the rubric in order to evaluate the rest of the remaining names. So adding the name is not a big deal because it will be evaluated again. And since it didn't hit that original evaluation, it should be evaluated. And in an effort to try and move this forward, this, you know, I'm perfectly fine with adding the name to the list. It gets evaluated anyways, and we can move on from there.
Thank you, Dr. Grace. Seth?
Thank you.
One other option, and I'm fine either way, but one other option is to just assign 5 people and advance it if it hits it. And I think we could make a, you know, if it's if the name scores 9 or above, then it's going to be 18. If it doesn't, then it's going to be 17. I think we could probably pass a dependent resolution on that for our next step. You know, we'll add the name if 5 people that are randomly assigned through the rubric, come up with an average score above 9 within the next 48 hours. And then after that, we will have the rest of the week to evaluate either 17 or 18 names.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the floor to add them to the list. You would to vote them up or down, and then we would go to the next if it's voted down. Patrick, you have your hand up?
Yes, so I think to reinforce what Dr. Caldera was saying, I mean, it's if this person, if Mr. Della Russo is going to come in at number 30 on our list and get very few points when 5 people do it, the odds of that them coming in as top 3 with the rest of the group is infinitesimal. So I think us, you know, if he's worthy to be in the top 3, he would clearly clear the bar for top 15. If he's not, then when we evaluate everyone, then he won't make, you know, top 3. So there's no harm in bringing him in here. And I think the other part that, you know, that Dan had brought up is that, you know, part of what we're trying to do here is bring people together within the city, and to have very prominent Italian American excluded from consideration because we made a clerical error, or to hold up the process because we made a clerical error. I think, you know, the harm that's done by doing those things is much greater than, you know, what we're doing as far as moving him forward with the group of 17.
Thank you. Nicely said. On the motion. No more hands raised? On the motion to add them to the list?
Can I ask, sorry, can I
Yes.
ask a question? I think it would be helpful for me to understand, you know, in my vote here, what the process will be for the next step. Because if we are going to be re-rubricing everybody, then that's one thing. But if there is additional process that will happen that will bring in additional considerations or other processes into deciding whether this person's name will be on the list, then that to me seems like a different process. So how will that work? What is the?
So I'm hoping this exercise, and there's a resolution on the floor, on the agenda tonight to, I believe, give each person on the board the ability to speak for a couple minutes on their top 3 or their top 1. And then I believe there's another resolution to go back out, instead of having an open meeting with the public speaking for 3 minutes apiece, it's to have another survey done. Let people write 250-word essays and submit it to the superintendent again to do a survey to the city to see what their feeling is. And then the last resolution was to have the principal, Kathy, have the students do an election of who they think would make the right name from our top 15 or 10 or whatever we come down to for conclusion. And then I would hope after those would be, 2 of those would be completed through the following week. And then after we've got all that, I would say next week we debate all these lists and all these suggestions and come up with our final 3, 5, I don't know, start off final 10, then maybe final 3 to put forth to the school committee. That we've taken everyone in the cities that we can get opinion without opening up to giving everybody 3 minutes. I think the survey, that's a motion tonight, resolution. That's what we're trying to work to it, so that we include everybody, we get everybody's opinion, not get tied up in what we're tied up in now, adding one name because it was left off. I'm sorry for that. But if he's meant to be there, he'll rise to the top. If he isn't, he won't rise. He'll stay where he is, at the bottom of the list.
Jim, just for clarification, the top 15 or whatever you guys decide, those are the names that would be submitted for the survey for the general public, right? That we're not starting from scratch with them again, correct?
So, correct, I would think,
That's-
unless,
I thought, that's what I thought the resolution was gonna say.
right, right, and then like the next resolution would address, and there may be somebody that's not on the list that they want to talk about, but yes, the top 15. And because there's a tie, it's gonna be 18, I guess. So the motion is to add Arthur Delarusso to the list. He would be number 18 for further consideration. I'm gonna go through the roll call. Is there any, there's no more hands up? I'll go through
Just
the
a
roll call.
point, just a point of information. So the committee would, as a whole, evaluate all of the 18 names and also consider other factors to make that decision for the final 3, according to the resolution we passed.
Correct, correct. Correct, and those other considerations are our resolutions that we have on the floor on the agenda tonight. Okay? All right, so let me go through the roll call. Bree Brothers,
Yes.
Daniel Vanpuccio,
Yes.
Erin Genia,
Yeah, yep.
Beth Fuller. Beth, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Yes? Grace,
Yes.
Hendrick,
Yes.
Jim, myself, yes. Kenneth,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Leroy,
Yes.
Lou,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Seth,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Matthew.
Yes.
Caitlin showing up yet? Caitlin?
Yep, I vote yes.
Thank you. Janelle
Yes.
and Josie.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the discussion on the rubrics. Can we hold any further discussion? And go through the 3 resolutions and then discuss the rubrics? The top 15. Does anyone have an objection to that? No? Okay, thank you. So the next resolution, I believe, Ron, would you read your resolution, please?
Yep. Whereas the committee has begun its ranking system using the scoring rubric, whereas the committee will compile the list and rank the results, I'm going to strike the next line. I move that each committee member submit up to their top 3 picks from the entire citizen submitted names. I move that the vote be tabulated by the chair, and from there we have 10 or whatever number nominees you want for a finalist list.
Can I get a motion for the resolution? Ron, your motion? You motion your resolution?
You want a second? You mean you want a second?
No,
of
you're
mine?
the motion. I need a second now, not from you.
Excuse me, sorry. Ron,
Yeah.
what did you X out of your
I
resolution?
X'd out the non-binding part. That'll be another issue later.
So just take out that line, whereas this is a
Yes.
non-binding
Yep.
system.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you.
I have a question, sorry.
We need a second first, sorry, and then we'll go into discussion. Okay? All right. Can I get a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Lou seconds. All right, discussion. Go ahead.
I just want to ask Ron, so the 3rd line, I move that each committee member submit up to 3 top names from the entire list of citizens submitted. So that's kind of superseding the rubric we voted on, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So in other words, all members of the advisory committee evaluate the remaining submissions, 17 or 18, according to the rubric. So if we pass this resolution, we're not doing that anymore. Which is why Ron was saying, this resolution will take care of all this.
Well,
So
it's going the other direction, yes.
going the other direction if we vote on Ron's resolution in the affirmative.
If you would allow me just to give you a couple of comments of this resolution.
Okay.
I mean, Matt, I don't want to.
Through the chair, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry.
But go ahead, Ryan.
Okay. So far in our process, each one of us has been given 25% of the names to rank. Each one of the 23 of us has been appointed here to have a vote on who the name should be. The reason why you're all been appointed is because we trust that you'll gather the information, you'll listen to the input of the public, and we'll have a vote, and we'll make a vote. Not a rating system that I have nothing, that this is why I voted against it last week. The rating system needs, if we want to go with the rating system, then I would propose that we have another long discussion so we all understand how to rate everything. I don't think that's happened yet. So my point is this: we should have, I mean, maybe not, maybe I just have a top 3 to 5 in mind that we think fits, and we're yet to hear from the public on some of, as someone mentioned, I don't know that person and there's not a lot of information on that person. So we need to have that input from the public. I just believe that, we need to stand up, each one of us by name, and stand in front of the Zoom screen and say, I voted for this. Not that, we all ranked and here's the average ranking. I just don't understand the difference between the rating system and actually standing up in a democratic way and saying, this is what I voted for, up to 3 names. That's my point of this. And you guys can vote it up or down, but that's my point.
Okay. Any more discussion?
There are hands, Jim.
5 hands. I gotta find them.
Yeah, maybe more. Maria is in my top left.
All right, here we go. I'm sorry. Hendrick first. I got Hendrick at the top.
Hi, this is Henrik. From my perspective, what we are doing here is service to the community. We said we wanted to help with this process to find the name that was the right name for Medford for this school. And we're not here because we think that our belief is the most important belief and that we should be able to choose who we want. We're here to do a job, which is the service to this community. We already voted how we are doing this. And the fact that we're doing this motion now, after we already decided how we were going to do this, is a step backwards. It means that everyone wasted their time. The whole point of the rubric and having things assigned randomly was to allow the people who submitted names that we didn't know a chance to be evaluated on their own merits. I found out 2 or 3 super interesting people that I'd never heard of that were really worthy of consideration. And because we were doing it randomly, that was the only way that I was able to find out about those people. Pauline Young was like amazing to me. This is not about us. This is about what's best for Medford. This is service. And I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forwards.
Maria. Thank you, Henrik.
I truly cannot comprehend why at this point, after we spent a week deliberating in terms of the randomization, in terms of our research, why we would just go and completely wash that out for the sake of getting to pick our favorite names from the whole list. It does not make sense to me. Why we would have spent a week of our time when we already have a tight timeline, essentially wasting our time. And that we would, rather than considering this in a very objective way with a set rubric that has considerations that ultimately people may or may not think of when they think of their favorites. One thing that stands out to me is important or representative of marginalized groups, because that is an essential aspect of the work that we're doing, making sure that this is representative of all of Medford. And so to just have this like piecemeal decision of, oh, these are my favorites, just seems unwise. It does not align with the work that we're supposed to be doing here. And it does not make sense to me why we would vote to pass this.
Thank you. Laura?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to appreciate Ron's resolution. I think there's many different ways we could have gotten to this, many different rubrics or methods we could have chosen. I do really like what we chose at our last meeting. And the two reasons are that, first of all, it's really transparent because we do have a rubric that the public has seen, and we are grading them all as best as we can according to that rubric. And I think having that out for the public to see really allows everyone to see what everyone's being judged on. But secondly, I think we do get to what Ron is talking about in number 8 in the resolution we passed, which is when we will be deliberating to select 3 names and trying to get to a consensus. By then, we will have all looked at all of the top 15 names. We will have put them through the rubric again. We will have heard from the public. And then in an open meeting, we're going to get to discuss our top 3. I'm not ready to pick a top 3 right now. I've learned a great deal over this past weekend about people I didn't know. And I really am looking forward to doing more of a deep dive into those 15 or 18 people that we are going to be looking at so that we can actually have that deliberation. I think that is what Ron was envisioning. And I agree that that's important. I think we'll get there anyway.
Okay. Can I just say something next? Thank you. So just for clarification here, I know we voted for the rubric, but the rubric to me was one exercise in this. I mean, we have other things we're supposed to reach out to the public, and we're going to do a survey, and then we're going to reach out to the students. So this rubric is one exercise. I mean, Ron is proposing another exercise, and then there's 2 more to be proposed. And then we'll deliberate. We'll have our top 15. If we make any changes to that, I don't know. But we hopefully will get our list smaller. But I think that my feelings on Ron's is that we're just trying to incorporate more thought into the process and to eliminate that we might have made a mistake through the rubrics.
Just a point of information, the rubric on the resolution we voted in last time, the rubric is in fact used again as another evaluation tool for the rest of the names. So it wasn't just a one-time use.
I understand that, but it wasn't voted to be the exclusive rating process.
Point of information. Correct. If I could just, I don't want to jump everybody. Go ahead, Mr.
Sorry, go ahead, Ron. Oh, sorry. All right, let me go back to my hands raised, and I'll get back to you. Seth.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of want to echo some of the other things that people have been saying. I mean, Dr. Caldera's point that what we voted on last week has 10 different steps to it. That is what we had adopted. You know, there is some, I mean, as a body, we can do whatever we want to do, but I don't think that we need to necessarily go over something again that is going to just create additional points of information that aren't relevant. We have names that were submitted by the public. As a body, we decided how we were going to go through those names and voted on it and adopted it, and now are moving forward.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Point of order, Mr. Chair. I feel that this is a backdoor way of, it's a reconsideration. It's a motion to reconsider is what this is. If we're taking a motion to reconsider, then we need a 2/3 vote before we reconsider the motion that we passed last week. This is not an additional motion. This is not in addition to what we agreed to. This is a reversal of what we agreed to last week. So,
Ron, would you like to reword your motion?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Would you withdraw or reword?
Withdraw.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
I do want to point of personal privilege, though, to say that, you're not understanding my point is at this point, we are creating a list based on a bunch of candidates that I had 25% input on, number one. That bothers me. I do know that the final decision, the deliberations will happen, and I just don't think we've deliberated enough on how this rubric works. And at the end, it's all coming down to everybody standing up and taking that vote, incorporating the great rubric that's been created, the input from the city, and whatever other research you've done. So, to not understand what I'm saying is that concerns me. But, I get, I'm fine with moving to that step, but step 8 of the process is what I'm asking to do too. So I'm just trying to protect somebody who has done some research. And by the way, I've done research on every single candidate nominee's name. I know the names. I don't think, my point is just procedural. I don't think the names are going to change if we vote or if we don't vote on it. So I'm withdrawing based on that and hoping that all of your top 3 or whatever number you have in your head appear in those 18s. That's all.
Kristen's hand is still up, and I see Bree. Jim, just letting you
Kristen,
know.
please.
Well, I guess it's not as necessary to say if Ron withdrew the motion, but I think the good thing of the good way that we looked at it through the rubric was, I think the point was, and what it did for me was to eliminate my personal biases. I could give you my top 3 people, but how does that serve the city of Medford? They submitted people, and I think we took a pretty a mathematically sound way to divide it in such a way that the work that it was going to be randomized and spread out enough so that wouldn't be people getting the choices that they preconceived notion that they wanted. And I got to learn a lot about the people on my list that I previously didn't know about, and I think it was good for me to have to do research on people that weren't as familiar to me and that weren't my top 3. I feel like that maybe it's not as good for me. Maybe I don't get my vote, but this isn't about me. This is about Medford and the kids getting a name for their new school. So I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out, and I think it helped me learn a lot.
Thank you. Did I see one more hand?
Breeze was up.
Bree.
Hi, Bree speaking here. Kristen actually summarized that pretty well, but I don't really care about my top 3. I don't want Medford to care about my top 3. Like I said, this isn't really about what I want. And you said at the beginning, Ron, that we were chosen as part of a democratic process to do careful research on all of these names. And if we really trust that was happening, we would trust that everyone here did that quality research and that each one of us would not have to individually research 67, 68, however many names. I think it's really awesome that you did that. But I mean, if we truly believe that we're all here for the same purpose, that shouldn't be necessary. And like I said, I don't have a top 3. The name that I picked originally isn't even on here, and I'm learning a lot. My top 3 have changed if I had to pick, but I don't care, so to speak.
Okay, thank you. I want to remind everybody of, the public through submissions, through the original survey had made us, how many times some names were submitted. Just, they should probably be in our top list, and I think they all are. So I'm not sure that, well, I don't know. But that would be, the only thing is the public talking is how many times a name was submitted needs to be reviewed and compared to our rubrics.
Jim Lister?
Yes.
So I just want to make a point on what you just said. So there's a lot of people in the city that knew a certain person on this top list, a lot of family members, a lot of coworkers, stuff. And one wonders, for me anyway, like people who were deceased and their families are a long time ago. Maybe like, some past person who lived here a couple hundred years ago. So we're going to get a lot of people that comment on a certain candidate that knew that person. And so when you're saying that has to be considered the number of times that they're submitted, it's directly relational to how, the people are living here right now. But we're trying to do something about the past as well. Does that make sense?
I understand, but we're trying to, when this is done, we want a celebration. We want a win-win situation. We don't want a lose-lose situation. And, we need to involve as many of the public as we can, not just have some name set in our head and go with it. So I hope we're all open-minded and we all listen. And I think that's what Ron's motion was, not necessarily a favorite 3, but just to let each member here speak their piece.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman, the motion has been taken down. I would suggest
I
the
understand.
discussion should have. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Anything else? We'll go to the next motion.
There's a hand up.
I
still.
actually have something to say.
All right. Sorry, I didn't see it. Hendrick, yes.
The other problem with paying attention to the number of times that people submitted certain names is there was a few people that submitted the same name over and over again on that list. And that is not in the spirit of public participation. And the reason that I suggested doing an essay and is it requires people to put more thought in it. And it also means that they understand that they have an opportunity to say the reason that they feel that person is valuable and why they would be, honored by being named, having the school named for them.
Okay, I'm sorry, can I stop you for 1 second? Because you can you read your motion? Because this is your motion. Your resolution. Could you read your resolution? Because you're describing
I'm actually
it now.
not speaking about my resolution right this second.
Okay.
What I'm saying is paying attention to the submissions from the public, the numbers. This is still based on that ranking idea that we kind of threw out, is that we can't listen to the number of people that submitted for one name or another name from the previous submissions, because those lists are invalid because people cheated. They submitted the same name over and over again. There was a number of instances where people made a vote for the same name, but then had every member of their family name, like that's not, to me, that's not public participation, that's stacking the scales.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. There's no motion right now, so I mean, we need to have a motion to have discussion. So
Okay,
there's
so Hendrik, would you like to read your motion? Will
Sure.
your resolution? We will.
Yeah, just give me 1 second to pull it up. It's going to take me a sec.
Hendrik, would you mind if I read it?
Absolutely, that'd be swell.
Sure. Be it resolved that 1, once the committee has chosen the 15 candidates from the public submissions, the committee will issue 1 public input survey to solicit feedback. 2, the survey shall be available as a Google form and as a paper version available at Medford High School. 3, there will be 1 week for the public to respond to the survey. 4, publicity of the survey shall be made through the administration via the channels that are already approved for publicity. 5, the survey shall include the name of the resident, address of the resident, which of the 15 names they are writing to support, and an essay of no more than 250 words addressing why the committee should include their candidate in the group of 3 submissions to the school committee. 6, survey results shall not be considered votes, but will be considered individually on their own merits.
Thank you. All right. That's his resolution. Hendrik makes the motion. Can I get a second before we discuss?
Ken Mallon seconds the motion.
Ken seconds it. Okay, discussion. Ron, your hands up?
Yeah, just one small change. Hendrik, you're not limiting this in any way. People can write 10 essays if they wanted to, correct?
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with the different windows. I'm suggesting that each person picks 1 person to write on. I'm not suggesting that 1 person can submit many essays if
yeah, I'm just suggesting change in the word so that people know that that's it, that's it. Every resident is limited to 1 essay submission, maybe what we want to put in there, because
so what number 5 says is the survey shall include the name of the resident, the address of the resident, and which of the 15 names they are writing to support, and an essay of no more than 250 words addressing why. So
yeah, I'm just suggesting that each resident only gets 1
of the.
That was my suggestion.
So I just added the 1 to the document that is in our shared folder, resolution for public participation.
Okay, and the other correction is
it should be 8 or 17 or 18 names.
Well, whatever that is. But the other suggestion is that the charge from the school committee is up to 3 names. I don't want to leave it out there that we definitely have to resolve on 3 names, because that's not what we, up to 3 name submission. Just so we have it in writing. It's
yes.
That's
okay.
all.
So in the
those
group
are my 2
of up to 3 submissions to the school committee.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Jim, can I just clarify? I'm sorry. What Ron said, every resident is only allowed to submit 1 essay. Is that how you wrote it, Henrik, into your, or just
yes.
to
Yes, it is. So I just this second changed the wording, and I did it in the version that's in the public folder so that you'll have that written. But it says which one of the 18 names they are writing to support.
I don't think point of information. I don't think that clarifies that you can only submit one. Someone could say, I'm submitting this one, and I'm submitting this one, and I'm submitting this one. So
I will just write residents may submit
only one,
only
no more than one.
one essay.
That's right.
Can, Mr. Lister, can I ask a point of clarity question?
Yes.
So when you're saying one essay, it also means they can only vote for one name from the survey that we put out there. Is that correct? One name, one essay.
I mean, it's not a vote.
But
They
I mean,
can't-
so are we asking the community to vote on one name from whatever it is we put out after tonight's meeting?
Point of information.
Asking the
I-
public.
I think I understand the question. We're talking about how many essays people can write on one person can only write for one name. And then when they submit them to us, that's a whole different process. But this is just the gathering of the public's information. So I believe, I want to speak for Hendrik, but you can't vote for name one, give us information on number 1 and number 4. Hendrik is asking you to make a choice and send that information in.
So it's just fact finding. It's not voting.
Correct.
Okay.
That's,
that's
well,
why I was
I don't want
confused.
to.
Thank
Point of information, I'm just wondering.
Yes, Tom. Matt, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So we're talking about Hendrick's resolution, which is actually just clarifying the rubrics number 6 public input comment, correct? So we're just getting down to the nitty gritty, how we're going to get the public input from the
It's
rubric.
yes, it's one of the ways public input.
Okay, so it's.
Doesn't say it's the only way. But
Okay,
it says,
so, when you say that, Mr. Lister, I just wondered what the other ways are going to be. Are they listed somewhere? So.
well, so I'm sorry, the next resolution is for the kids at the school to vote.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that what Hendrik is proposing is that really this is a definition of how we're going to get public input through our rubric, correct?
Yes, but not limited to. I would like to say that it's not limited to.
Okay.
I mean, because we had a proposed resolution before that was withdrawn that also had public input. So I don't want to I feel like I'm getting trapped into this rubrics when I was under the impression the rubrics was an exercise, not the complete procedure for this entire action. You know what I mean? It's not the complete procedure, which seems to be what's happening.
Could I
Yeah, but
speak
the only
to
thing
that
I
for a
voted
minute?
on, Mr. Lister, is this rubric.
Correct. To go through this rubrics, but it wasn't made that it was going to be the only thing we did. Because there's other ways the public was supposed to get involved. That's all.
It is not the only way that we're evaluating names.
Okay.
There's discussion, there's public input, and I suspect that there's going to be people that did research that members of this committee have never heard of that they will talk about in this meeting, and we may be swayed to think differently.
Okay,
You know,
exactly.
and I think that the opportunity for the public to submit these essays, like, this is a way for our people to say, what Danny was just saying. He's like, this family is really important to my family. It's important to other families that have been in Medford for years and years. And I want to say what they've done for Medford. This is a personal connection for me, but, maybe the rules that Del Russo made in the 40s have changed how things happen for a lot of people. And that's what we really need to hear. And frankly, I'm not going to know that. So we have to have somebody like Danny saying, these are the things that are important to me, and write it down, and then we can learn about it, because we don't have all of this knowledge.
I agree. Thank you.
Point of information, Mr. Chair. I just want to draw, I know a couple of people have referenced this, but I keep hearing people over and over again talk about different elements that we need to consider. And number 8 on what we voted on last week and approved is the advisory committee deliberates to select 3 names by consensus, weighing the submission's average scores, average values on each rubric dimension, public input, and research. So it seems like folks are concerned, like we're not getting enough public input, or we're not. We have that. We've already built that into the vote. You know, we built that into the process. So we take into consideration the rubric, as well as public input and research that we do as a group. So that's number 8 from our resolution that Dr. Dara submitted.
We do have hands up, Jim.
Okay. Lee, you want to go next?
Sure. My question, I think it's pretty quick. I was curious about the essay itself and whether it is a requirement or it's optional. Obviously, for the paper ones, it's optional in the sense that someone could return one without it. But if we do an online version, is the idea that someone can vote without including an essay?
Henrik?
You're muted.
Sorry, I'm muted. Someone could do that, but the thing that would be supportive, like that would help me sway me and might make me want to support somebody, is them saying, I feel strongly about this. This is the things that I feel strongly about. This person, you know, helped my family. This person supported people that I cared about. This person created something for these students. That, you know, that's the stuff that really matters to me. I don't really care if a whole bunch of people say, I want to vote for, you know, Galileo. It's why is Galileo important? That's the thing that matters to me.
Yes,
And
I understand. I just wanted to make sure we weren't marginalizing people or not including people who wanted to vote without the essay.
Yes. So the essay is priority.
Point of information, is there a vote? I don't see anything in the resolution about a vote of the public.
It's not a vote.
It's not a vote. They're
it's a
just
survey.
expressing support for one person.
Okay.
This
It's a
point
survey.
of information, the guidelines that the school committee gave us, we need some way of getting public input. And I think this is the best way of doing it.
I agree. Melissa, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just a point of information. I think the word essay can deter a lot of people. I think we should maybe say, you know, a brief description. I just don't want to turn people away. Sometimes when you hear the word essay, it might be a little bit overwhelming. English may not be their first language. They might be concerned about conveying. So I think maybe we should just say, you know, a brief description of why you support this person. And I think you be more likely to get more people to submit that way.
Excellent.
I just
Henrik, you accept that friendly amendment?
Yes.
Thank you.
I know, me being an engineer, being more into numbers, when I hear the word essay, it's very overwhelming to me because I like to do better with numbers. But if you tell somebody a brief description, I think that might be a little bit more, you know, a short paragraph, something. Essay to me sounds very formal.
What about argument?
Is that word
Submit one
negative?
written argument in favor of the candidate.
Sure, one written defense. Yeah, I just want to be careful of the word we use, that we don't turn people away.
Yeah, maybe a statement.
Yeah, I like statement.
Statement of support.
Or the word we use with the kids at school is a persuasive letter.
Oh, that's a good, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And I also just want to put some input that I don't think it's important how many people per household vote. You could have, I know here in South Medford, we have very dense housing, and you may have 4 adults in one household. And I think that each person in that household, including my 4th grader at the Columbus, should be able to submit a name. So I'm not sure if their name and address, and I know the city council is voting on that tonight. I don't know if name and address is necessarily important, because I know on this committee alone, we have one household taking up 2 spots on this committee. So I think to then turn to the public and say that they can't do that would be hypocritical of us. So that's just my 2 things that I've been listening to everybody today. Yes, I did miss last week because I was out of town. So I want to thank everybody for really rehashing what we did last week. and for the things that I heard today. That's just my information that I wanted to provide. So thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Aaron, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. I have two questions about the resolution and the request to the public. One is, will they be given any information about the person or name proposal? Will there be a description provided for them, or will they just, have to know on their own what it is? So that's one question. And then the other question is, how will we evaluate those essays or those statements? And what will the process be for that?
So I think the first question, I think that they'll have to do their own background to figure out the history behind the name. The second part, how would we evaluate? Hendrik, I suppose we would all read them and then if we're going back to a rubrics here or whatever, we would consider it.
So my thought was that everyone on the committee would read all of these statements and that we would be using that, if it speaks to us, then it affects our decision. If it doesn't speak to us, it doesn't affect our decision. I don't think that there's a formal way that we could evaluate what people write other than whether or not it's persuasive to us. The reasoning behind the address and name is to make sure that we're getting people that are in Medford. Each individual would have the ability, if they lived in Medford, to participate. So I'm definitely not limiting participation from other members of the family, and I would love it if children would write in.
Okay, thank you. Kathy Kay, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I have a question. At this point in the game, I think it would be important that if the teachers wanted to be involved as well, that they should be, and not all of the teachers live in Medford. And so that would exclude that group. I don't know if that creates a problem for the committee here to allow that. I mean, obviously the students live in Medford, but the teachers who work at the school, not all of them live in Medford, so that they don't get to have a say.
That would be another friendly amendment. Hendrik, would we be in favor of that?
You're muted, Henrik.
Yes, I'm going to learn to use these mute buttons at some point before this whole thing is over and we don't have to do this anymore.
We all think that, but we all still do it. So don't feel bad.
So I will add how about residents and
could the
employees of the school?
Could the teacher just sign the letter? The address would be the Columbus School. Do you know what I'm saying? So if I taught at the Columbus School, my name would be Lisa Evangelista. My address would be Columbus School, 37 Hicks Ave.
It would need to say that in the directions too, though, because if it doesn't state it, teachers might not apply.
I think
believe
Hendrik had
that,
it. I think Hendrik had it right by saying employees of the Medford Public School System work.
Yeah,
that's good.
There was also in the survey for name suggestions, the term Medford community member and a question asking about connection to Medford. Would that be something that you would be interested in adding, or?
I'm sorry, I was typing and now I can't remember what you just said. So can you say it one more time?
In the survey for suggesting names, there was the term Medford community member, which encompassed employees of the school, residents, students, etc. And there was a question that asked, what is your connection to the Medford community? Would that be something that you would be interested in adding?
It sounds like we would have to think a lot about who, not to say that I am opposed to thinking, but we would have to figure out who would be
The
allowed.
connection to the community.
Yeah. Does anybody have any ideas on that?
Just my only comment is it's not a vote, it's just gathering information. So if somebody who travels into the city or works here knows of something, we just read their their suggestion. It's not like they're voting, so we don't have to really restrict it, but
Yeah, I was thinking that
if it's
same
valued
thing.
information, if it's valued information, I sure would like it.
Unless we have a run from, Somerville and, people who want to write essays and submit them. I mean, statements and submit them. I think it's probably fine.
Okay. All right. So was there any more hands that I didn't see? Two.
There are.
Laura?
Thank you. I feel like a lot of what I wanted to say has already been said. But I just wanted to take one quick step back and say how I view this as being consistent with the resolution we passed last time. And I know that, we've had sort of different opinions about what that means. The way I see the resolution is not exclusive, but certainly it is a roadmap. We did agree to do those 10 steps, right? And I think now we're getting into the nitty gritty of how we do those steps, especially the step about how we get public input. But I just want to be on the record to say that I do believe we are bound to do those 10 steps by what we voted on. And there may be other steps that we may add in, and it's not exclusive, but we did agree to do those 10 things.
Okay, thank you. Ron, do you want to speak again?
Yeah, sorry. I just want to really pare it down so that, we now have I assume we now have a list of 18. I just like the mechanics of it, how it's going to be displayed. I think we talked about doing the survey. I just, in the interest of being exact, what happens to somebody who writes a 350 word statement? We're not going to review it?
I would think that we would review it. I just think that we're trying to keep it under 250.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying.
I wouldn't say we would exclude anything, but
we can
the incentive is to keep it under 250.
Point of information. Yeah, you can limit the form.
Yep.
If you're doing it on.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good. And the other point that I want to make is we now know what we need to know to do this. I think we should develop a timeline of start date, end date, and how this is all gonna, just this part is all gonna happen. So I know you said a week. Do we say it starts tomorrow and it ends next Wednesday? I think also that should be in the resolution.
My intent was that we make the form, and that however long that takes determines when we start, because we want to start as quickly as possible. And I'm probably not the right person to make the Google form.
I think I can get Susan to take care of that for us.
Matt has his hand up.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Matt.
I just wanted to ask how the names are actually going to put on the form. I'm hoping alphabetically and not a ranking system, i.e. not
in order of how they fell.
Right, by alphabetical. I think would be best.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you get that, Lisa? Okay.
Yep, well said. I was going to suggest that alphabetical is probably the easiest.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else on that motion? Can we go through the list and
So Mr. Chair, I think, Ron, you said you wanted to include a timeline on it, but what is the timeline you wanted to add to the resolution?
Well, I think Hendrik answered the question. It depends on how long it takes to do that survey. But if we all understand that it's a 7-day window for citizens to submit, then that's fine with me. The more information we have, it starts on May 18th, it ends on May 25th, that all has to be in there. So as long as we agree it's a 1-week survey, that's fine. I don't think we can come up with a date just yet.
Well, is this something that we can have created tomorrow? I mean, I don't know what the, yeah, I see Lisa's got her hands up.
Let me say, can I
I
interrupt?
mean, I mean, no, I don't mean to cause a problem, but I do know that, you know, it's a Columbus School renaming committee. It's also budget time. And so Susie and myself are very involved in that too. So you just have to keep that in mind. Like, we have a budget hearing on Thursday that we have to prepare for. So, you know, maybe if we could have it done by the end of the week so that we could go Monday through, get it out across the school messenger and however else the survey was distributed, maybe, I mean, I have to double check with Susie, but I mean, the timeline may be really tight, but I don't know if she can get it done tomorrow or we could get it done tomorrow. I just can't commit to that without talking to her first.
I would just like to
Beth has
say,
had her hand- Beth has had her hand up, I think.
So I just have one quick, I'm sorry, Maria. I just have one quick comment in that we, somewhere along the line, and it could be in the back and forth of the emails, someone was suggesting that we also needed to be mindful of maybe negative information that members of the community might want to submit to us. How does that, if we're only limiting people to one statement of support or persuasive letter, how would we handle negative information?
It's a good point.
My feeling is that each member of the committee would evaluate whether or not they felt like that negative information was persuasive or if it was just part of the noise that we didn't want to hear. And each person would vote based on their own feelings. If someone makes a negative argument and it's persuasive, then it is. And if
I'm thinking Beth's question is, if I want to vote for someone, but also give negative information about someone, I don't have an opportunity to do both.
It's a tough group. Okay. Maria, did you have your hand up?
yes, I was going to comment that making a Google survey does not take a very long time. And I would be happy to volunteer to make one if anyone else would like to help. I just don't think that there's any reason to be delaying because of budget season, et cetera, et cetera.
Maria, I think that you have to understand that it's still gonna have to be sent through the superintendent's office in order to get to everybody. So you can certainly submit something to Susie if you want to do that, or if somebody wants to work on that. But it would still have to go through the process of getting it out to the same people that the survey initially went out to, and that stemmed from the superintendent's office. So in order to get everybody to participate, we have to keep it as public as possible. So whatever assistance you want to provide, absolutely, but it should go to Susie for a final okay.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Lister, can I make a request as well for that information?
Yes.
That's shared with me as well as the principal of the Columbus, so that I can share it with all my families too, just so that they get it in more than one way.
Okay, did you get that, Lisa, to add that on? Okay.
Thank you.
Point of clarification, Mr. Chair. I mean, on this, what the superintendent is doing, that's the minimum that where it needs to go out through this. We can send it out through Facebook or send it out wherever else, right? There's no.
I would agree, but they would have to go to the website to get actual access to submit.
Right. Yeah.
Well, go to the website, they could go to the blog spits it out to Facebook and Twitter, just so you're aware. And obviously, if you all would be CC'd on it. So if you have members of the public that are asking you, obviously you could, you could send it out yourself, as long as it's all returned to Susie so we can, provide the information to the committee. Correct?
Thank you. Melissa, would you like to speak?
One quick thing, point of information, Ms. Beth Fuller brought up a great point. I'm sorry, my dog is going crazy, but how do we verify that if any negative or, say derogatory information is provided, how do we prove that as fact? Because I know there's been argument, it's hard to find certain information to prove that either positive or negative. How do we go about proving that that negative input is in fact truth? And I think that's something we need to
Every
talk about.
input's going to be tied to, every input is going to be tied to the individual that sent the information in. So I would hope that if we had something that was damning, that we would go back to that person.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that that's something that we also thought about, because
Yes.
I'm kind of, the longer we allow this statement as a persuasive paragraph to be, I feel like we're gonna get more noise than good.
Okay. Thank you.
Bree's had her hand up for a very long time.
I'm sorry. Bree, go ahead.
That's okay. I don't have the raise hand as a co-host.
I'm sorry, and I don't have you on my screen. That's why I'm not saying it. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just also to what Maria said, I'm happy to help I hate that a lot of the heavy lifting is falling to Lisa or Susie or whomever. I know there was a little bit of hesitation, like with having committee members do some of the work for this week, but assuming there's no randomization or anything like that to happen for a Google survey, I'm also happy to help with that. And then I feel like if we as committee members can do a brunt of the work and then just get it to who it needs to go out to the proper channels, then that will save a lot of time.
Yeah, no, that's fine. If you and Maria want to work on something, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying that we would need to have it so that we get it out to the proper people, because we're going to get the calls if X, Y, and Z didn't, couldn't participate or something. So, and if there's something on the Google form that, may or may not go, the superintendent would have to look at it. So in case we got any calls, we would be the ones speaking for it. When I say, I mean like central office. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Seth, do you have your hand up?
In the chat, which I know that not everybody has access to, I wrote a proposal to solicit both positive and negative information on any of the other names that might be considered a number 7. So Hendrik, this could be a potential friendly amendment. And what I wrote was, if there is any additional information about any other name, if there is additional information about any other name, positive or negative, please feel free to write it. And then I said either here or send it to an email. And I don't know whether or not it makes more sense to have it as part of a form or have it sent theoretically to the superintendent's office or the chair directly, and then distributed to the committee.
I think that we should have it go in the same form so that we don't have to chase the email.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so that's a friendly amendment to the
I'm working on incorporating it.
resolution. Okay.
Hendrik, can you see my chat?
Yes, I actually copied your thing and I'm figuring out how to stick it in.
Great.
Okay. Pat, go ahead, Pat.
on that issue though, we say positive or negative. I mean, now we're letting people, go long form on multiple submissions, right? And we wanted to limit it to one. So do we just say, do you have any concerns about the people on the list? Any negative information or something like that?
We're only allowing them to write on one person.
Right. But we're adding this piece here at the end that says, is there any negative information about any of the individuals listed above? Seth had said any
I'm
additional.
trying to
or
make it
negative.
into one.
Yeah, no,
Jim, were you
I would-
saying someone had like two negative, like?
I understand what you're saying, yeah. We're convoluting what we're asking here.
Yeah.
A positive report, and then we're asking for negative if it's possible, and then you're talking about multiple people. I mean, we're making this kind of confusing.
Yeah, so it's one positive and then as many negatives as people have. I would think we want to know. We don't want to name a school. I see Laura's doesn't like that, but I guess I'm thinking like if someone has information that's negative about 2 or 3 of these candidates that we have, I would like to hear that. I don't want to be back here next year renaming a school after someone, if we find additional negative information in the future.
So let me just read this. Somebody, maybe just comment text box for negative character concerns, separate from the essay on person they support.
There are hands.
Sorry, Leroy.
I said there are hands. I see Lou, Kathy K, and Ron again. Oh, and Dan.
You say Lou?
Mm-hmm.
Lou, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. Going back to who can write these statements, I kind of have a problem with just if you just work in Medford, that you can have a say in the school. I mean, I understand the teachers of the Columbus, but I don't think every teacher of the Medford Public Schools should have a say in it. Or if you just work in a store, that you can just have a say in it. I mean, I work in Lowell a lot, but I'm sure they don't want my input on a Lowell school. I think we got to draw a line somewhere.
That would be in the form of an amendment to
Limited to Medford residents only and Columbus school teachers.
Columbus school teachers or Columbus school employees.
Well, employees. I mean, that's their building. They work in there.
Well, to be fair, some people might have started working at the Columbus, but now are at a different school.
Yeah, someone
And-
might have left Medford, and then someone could just leave Medford
Right.
tomorrow.
Well, that's fair too. I mean,
It's not. I don't think it's fair,
why?
because if they're there right now and then they just leave,
Yeah. I don't mean they leave because they want to. They might have got an advanced degree and moved to a different school.
they
But
could move to a different city.
no. I meant
All right.
like,
Don't, please don't, it's through everything through the chair.
I'm
Don't go
sorry.
back and forth. Just,
I was just trying to get my point is
I understand.
there could be a teacher there today and then they leave Medford and go to another school next week or next year.
That's, they could have a good or a bad or it's either or. As far as
I would second Lou's amendment.
okay. All right, we have a second on the amendment. Any more discussion? We're discussing the amendment now, and then we'll vote on the amendment first. Patrick,
Oh, I didn't lower my hand. So.
All right, sorry.
Sorry about that.
Ron, would you?
Yeah, I just want to comment on this amendment to say that we're not giving people a vote. We're giving them an opportunity to give us valuable information. That's all we're asking for. Whether, let's say name number 2, 25 years ago would be doing something in Malden and the people in Malden knew about it. I think back to Patrick's point, we just want to ensure that the name we pick is not going to be tarnished in 20 years. So I'm for anybody who wants to give information. We can validate the information, but it's only information gathering. It's not unless, the other point I'll say the other point on this amendment, that's my point.
Okay, thank you. Maria?
Yeah, essentially, I just want to reiterate what's already been said in terms of this is not about voting, this is about information. I also could see in some ways that we might want to limit it to Medford community members, in which case I don't even considering your amendment, I would say not just Columbus teachers or employees, but rather Medford Public Schools employees, because ultimately they're all part of the larger Medford community, and we are all in a way impacted by the names of our schools, particularly if that could be a damaging or positive theme.
Thank you. Lee?
Yeah, I'm also going to agree with that sentiment because it is not a vote. It really is information gathering. And I think that, if we were really concerned about, again, being overwhelmed with information, which is not typically a real issue in this case, when we could add a box that you just check it and say if you're a Medford resident, but we're not weighing the results of these. We're reading them and learning from them. So it's not, in the end, there's no ranking of what came in.
Okay. Kathy Kay?
So the first point I was going to make is, we could call this a fact-finding survey, and not even actually really use the word survey, though. I think fact-finding something, and that would then let people know we're just looking for information, right? They're not voting. And my second point was, when we were kind of getting, I think, hung up in tell us negative things, would it be better to just create a second box that also has a size limit that says, please add anything additional you want to tell us here? And so if they want to give us positive information, they can. If they want to give us negative information, they can do that too.
Thank you.
There's a note in the chat saying Dan has had his hand up for 10 minutes from Patrick.
Dan, I'm sorry.
It's okay, no worries. I'm always the forgotten one. I just wanted to make a quick comment. I was scanning through the original survey that went out, and it was great to see that we got somewhere around 300 back. I just want to make sure that we use all our resources as far as this one goes, because for a city with 57,000 plus folks that live here, I just want to make sure that we're not forgetting some of the folks that aren't computer savvy. So I know it's difficult, and I know there's probably money involved, but I'd love to see some of the folks that don't necessarily have computers to not be left out of this. That's all.
Thank you.
We did say that there would be paper versions at the Medford High School. So we won't be able to hold them to 250 words, but if someone's writing longhand, I think we should just let them have the extra words if they're going to write it out.
Okay, I got one more. Let me see. Well, I got something in the chat here. Can I read this? And then Maria, I'll let you speak. If we are seeking to gather both negative or positive, I'd like to know if we can make the names of the submitted confidential, or does that violate public information laws? I would think that it violates the public information law. I may be wrong. Maria, would you like to speak?
Yes, I would just like to say that in terms of possibly adding an additional information box, I feel as though that could get dicey in terms of, we did say that we would limit the statement in support or persuasive letter to one name. And so I think that we don't really want to be adding that additional information box, and then it just becomes a place where people start talking about other names that they support. I do think that we should have something that explicitly states that we want to hear possible negative information.
I feel like we should have a subcommittee on just the form, that we appoint 4 people to just work on this form and get back to us. I mean, it's we can go round and round here.
Rhea has her hand up.
Bree, go ahead.
I was just gonna say to Kathleen's point, if we kind of just, I think if we reframe the whole way we're thinking about this survey, we could effectively do 2 birds with 1 stone. If we just call this fact finding as opposed to a show of support, it would essentially free up community members to provide facts, whether they are positive or negative facts, like to each their own. But if we don't call it a show of support and we just ask for information about these top 17, 18, whatever the number was, candidates, I feel like we could effectively get a plethora of information that could accomplish both of these.
I feel like that now we get off of how many people we're allowing this submission to talk about.
Well, no, it would still be for, you might be right.
All right.
I was also just going to say, somewhat agreeing with you, Jim. I mean, maybe it's just better to go forward with the resolution as being modified to just come up with a separate process for getting other feedback, But we have one process, which is your show of support. And then if you just want, if we just stand up a separate process for providing additional information.
If there's any information, other information you feel that should be made public, whether it be negative information, we need some avenue for that to come forward.
We can do other things, but I like the original idea behind this, but it is difficult.
So one of the things that I don't want to lose, if we change the language to be fact finding, I think that we may lose the emotional feelings that people have about the candidate, and at least the way I feel when I'm supporting somebody or arguing against somebody, it's not just about the facts, that it's about how I feel about it. It could be a fact that very few people actually know the person that you're supporting, but that you feel very strongly about it. I think that the argument and what satisfies the public is not just about providing facts, but also being able to have their emotional, you said, Jim, their impassioned support or impassioned argument. And I think that that's an important part of what these statements could be. If it's only fact, I don't know, I'm starting to get like, I don't care what we vote on, I just want to go home, except we're already home.
Can we pass the amendment and I'll appoint a committee to come up with the form for us that we'll have to approve? With working on your resolution and everything we've heard here, we'd have to get something together the next day or two and get it out.
I don't think that we couldn't approve the form in a day. We can write the form in a day and submit it to Lisa or Susie to get it put out. But if we were going to approve the form as a committee, that would push our schedule out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an administrative task. I don't think we have to approve it. I think if we just agree to delegate it to the chair and, the staff, and I think that, not staff, the volunteers, sorry. And I think we just need to avoid the miscommunication that we had last time where one group of folks thought that they had responsibility and Jim thought he had responsibility. So we just need to clarify the roles there. If we do delegate this out to a subcommittee to do, which, hopefully my opinion is hopefully we do, because I don't want us to wait another week or two to approve a form. It's administrative.
I think we just need to clarify the language here, and Bree, I'm fine with them coming up with it and submitting it to Lisa so that Lisa and Susan could get it out there. I mean, we need to have an agreement on what the language is that we've gone round and round with this language now for a half an hour. I mean, we agree on the resolution. It's just as far as what we're putting in it for language. We haven't passed the resolution yet, by the way, but
There are multiple hands, including Lisa's at some point. Lisa's hand is up.
Lisa, you first, please.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that the superintendent's office, we do try to translate these documents into for other languages. So our EL director always asks us to be as basic as possible in these forms or in these surveys because they have to be translated. So if whoever's going to work on the forms, we could just keep that in mind. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I got two more hands. Ron.
Just quickly, I think we should just move the resolution if we can add that a committee will be assigned by Jim to help Hendrik, and then we just move on. Let's just, I trust that Hendrik and
Okay,
those
we
people
move the
will all
vote then?
understand.
The vote's been called. Can I go through the lineup here? And
Well, just point of order, Mr. Chair, is that there's an amendment right now on the floor about who's qualified to fill out this information, and we never made a decision on that. It was brought forward by Lou and seconded.
Correct.
So
Thank you for reminding me.
We need to
Sorry.
vote on that amendment.
We need to vote on that amendment. So one time, can I get the amendment? Lou, could you just say what you wanted to restrict? You wanted to people that
I want it to be to Medford residents and Columbus school employees.
Okay. All right, we're going to vote the amendment.
Just point of clarification, that's not a friendly amendment. Is that correct, Hendrik? You want it open to all faculty and staff of Medford school system?
I think he wanted it
I
only
think we
for
should-
Bedford Columbus school staff. And
Right.
yeah.
No, I was saying Hendrik, the original motion.
Yes, Hendrik was.
In the original motion, I wrote, actually, I don't have it in front of me anymore because I've been chicken scratching it. The last thing that I had written was employees of Medford Public Schools and Medford community members is what I have written right now based on people's suggestions.
Okay. Yeah, so that
So-
would require a vote. It's not, if it's not a.
That's not a friendly amendment.
Okay. It feels friendly to me though, so I'm okay.
Well, if you're okay with it, I don't think we need to take a vote on the separate amendment.
I would like to get the input of other people. I've been just putting most of the suggestions just in.
Okay.
So
So it's
you
not-
understand he's restricting it to just Medford residents and employees of the Columbus.
And I would like to do the vote so that I'm not the one that makes the decision.
Okay. Okay, so we're moving the amendment. Bree Brothers,
Excuse me,
Sorry,
who's
point of
second?
information. Can you clarify? I'm a little lost on the amendment. The language of the resolution currently says it's for residents and all school staff. And the amendment is residents and Columbus school staff. Is that correct?
I
Correct.
also have, and other Medford community members may also submit. So that's the language that I have right now, which I added as we were talking about this.
So that isn't what the amendment we're voting on now is.
No.
The amendment is to limit it to
To
Columbus.
residents and employees of the Columbus school.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Who seconded Lou's amendment? I mean, Lou's resolution.
I
Ken
believe
Mallon.
Paul did.
Ken Mallon did.
Ken Mallon did, yes, sorry. Thank you. Okay. Bree Brothers,
No.
Dan Puccio,
Yes.
Erin Genia,
I'm sorry, this is just for the amendment, right?
yes.
Um, is there a third option? Can I stand aside?
You can abstain.
Abstain.
I'll abstain.
Beth Fuller,
Yes.
Grace Caldera,
She left.
She left.
okay, Henrik,
No.
myself, Jim, yes. Kenneth Mallon,
Yes.
Kristen Scalisi,
No.
Laura Rotolo,
No.
Leroy LaFleur,
No.
Lou Topper,
Yes.
Maria Rocha,
No.
Melissa Miguel,
Yes.
Patrick McCabe, Pat,
You were muted, Pat. Patrick.
Sorry. No.
Paul Donato,
I don't see him on the screen.
He's
giving a thumbs up,
giving
yeah.
a thumbs up. Yes, I think is what he's saying.
Ron Javino,
No.
Seth Hill,
No.
Kathy Kay,
No.
Matthew,
No.
Caitlin,
No.
Janelle,
No.
Josie.
No.
Okay, I think we had more no's than yes. Somebody have a count? No?
14 noes. 7 yeses, Grace left and Aaron abstained. Does that work out?
I
Yes.
believe so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now to the motion. Move the motion.
Can we have a reading of the motion?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask the same thing.
Henrik,
Yeah.
would you like to read your motion again?
Yeah, I
Take your
think I
time,
might
please.
have an extra sentence or something. But I'll read what I.
Point of information, Jim, is part of this motion to move it to a subgroup
To accept it.
and move it to a subgroup for wordsmithing, or is it done?
So I believe we're gonna accept it and then we'll have to,
Yeah, we could do a separate motion on how to implement the motion that Hendrik has passed.
We're voting on a resolution, right? Not a motion?
Resolution,
Yeah.
yes. It's been motioned and seconded now.
Point of
As far as-
information, I think we're just voting on this resolution with the caveat, like we did last week, that it would be rewritten by Hendrick and his committee.
We would need a second motion to do that. I mean, we can't vote on something that we don't know what it is, right? So if we delegate the task to a separate group, that can be a second motion.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought the subcommittee was just to possibly reword the Google form, not the motion or the resolution. Sorry.
All right, thank you.
Correct. I think that's what just to reword the Google form and submit it to Lisa so that they can get it out. We all agree on that? All right, so now to pass the motion. Bree,
Oh, can we hear the motion again, though?
Yeah, I need to read it. I just have to write the last sentence about the subcommittee will be formed to author the Google form for participation.
Who seconded Henrik's resolution? Sorry.
He hasn't made it yet.
Oh,
Okay.
So I will read the resolution as it is currently written. Resolution for public participation. Whereas pursuant to the advisory committee's charge, the committee will hold at least one public hearing or issue one public input survey to solicit feedback on the options they are considering per the charge of this resolution as at least one of their meetings. Be it resolved that 1, once the committee has chosen 18 candidates from public submissions, the committee will issue one public input survey to solicit feedback. 2,
Yeah. Hold on, just 1 second.
the survey shall be available as a Google form and as a paper version available at Medford High School. The 18 candidates will be listed in alphabetical order. There will be 1 week for the public to respond to the survey. Publicity of the survey shall be made through the administration via the channels that are already approved for publicity. 5, the survey shall include the name of the community member, the address of the community member, which one of the 18 names they are writing to support or argue against, and an essay of no more than 250 words addressing why the committee should include their candidate in the group of up to 3 submissions to the school committee. I just realized that sentence doesn't make sense.
Point of information, I thought that we had, pursuant to Melissa's friendly amendment, changed the word essay to, I believe, statement.
Yes, I changed it in one other place, but not in this place. Hang on. A statement of no more than 250 words addressing why the committee should or should not include their candidate in the group of up to 3 submissions to the school committee. Residents, employees of Medford Public Schools, and other Medford community members may submit. Medford community members may submit only one written persuasive statement supporting or arguing against their candidate of choice. Survey results shall not be considered votes, but they will be considered individually on their own merits. A subcommittee will be formed to author the Google form for participation.
Can we add who's on the subcommittee?
Sure. I heard Maria volunteer and Bree volunteer.
Is that right, Jim? It was Maria and Bree only.
Anybody else want to volunteer for that subcommittee?
I would like to volunteer.
Okay. So Josie too.
Okay.
They're gonna create that Google form and get it to Lisa. Okay,
Jim, this is
Yes.
Melissa. Point of information. I'd like the committee to look at that form before they submit it, please.
sure.
I'm not comfortable with just being submitted without the
Do
whole.
we
thing.
have
So that's,
the committee put it on the Google documents for us to just look at it before it goes to Lisa?
Point of information, I just think the only thing we can edit is clerical stuff. We can't change the substance.
Right. Just to see it. So we're all in the loop.
I think that it would be, all the work for that would be done in the shared drive anyway. But as
Yes.
soon as we're finished with a decent draft, we'll send out an email letting everybody know with the link. And hopefully people will be able to go over it and get back quickly.
I think there's a way with Google, if people have access, they can make comments and it comes up on the side for everybody to see, and then the authors accept it or not.
Okay.
Bree, you're shaking your head. Is that right? Do you agree?
Okay.
We will use commentary from committee.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. The concern is what Ron brought up, is that if we're having extensive discussion about this form, we risk violating open meeting law. If more than 12 people or more from this group comment, it could be considered that it's an open meeting. I believe that's how I understand open meeting law. So I mean,
I would think that the submissions would be to the committee, the subcommittee that's preparing the document for us. It wouldn't be a group discussion, and no one should be discussing the document in the comments with anybody other than the committee that's making this document for us.
Yeah, from a point
Okay,
of information.
Yes.
Speaking to that open meeting law, from what I understand, if you have a concern over whether or not the form itself is going to be appropriate, then get on the subcommittee and take a look at it, because the subcommittee is what we're voting on in order to do the work. We're specifically delegating our authority to them in order to get this administrative form.
That's a great.
Melissa, do you want to join the committee?
Right.
Melissa, would you like to be part of the subcommittee?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I have changed the last sentence to be, a subcommittee will be formed to author the Google form. That's for participation. Hendrik Gideons, Maria Rocha, Josie Dufour, Bree Brothers, and Melissa Miguel will be the subcommittee members.
I'd like to move the amendment, vote on the amendment.
I'd like to second that.
Actually, that requires a 2/3 vote to move to move it. So.
All right. Well, we have to vote on the amendment, correct?
Right. Hopefully we just vote instead of moving it.
So we just
I'm
take the roll call
totally
for-
lost.
You're muted.
Jim, you're muted.
I didn't understand what was just.
No, Ron had said procedurally that he moves the question and that requires a 2/3 vote. So I don't think there's any further comment here. So I don't think we need to do a roll call of 2/3.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, so where are we?
Do I
Voting
need-
on the amendment.
Okay.
On the amendment,
What is the amendment?
was Lou's amendment to.
No, we voted.
No, the amendment is the committee.
Yeah.
This is the
What's the
original.
other?
This is the resolution that we're voting on right now, the original.
All right. You said, somebody said amendment and left me lost.
Well, I
on the
just
path.
assumed that the committee piece was an amendment.
Friendly amendment is modified by the person proposing.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. On the resolution, on the motion. Bree Brothers,
Yes.
Dan Puccio,
Yes.
Erin Ginia,
Yes.
Beth Fuller,
Yes.
Grace Caldera.
She's left.
He's gone.
She's gone, okay. Henrik,
Yes.
Jim Lister, yes. Kenneth Mallon,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Laura,
Oh. Yes.
Leroy,
Yes.
Lou,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Pat,
Aye.
Paul. Is Paul still here?
He's given 2 thumbs up.
All right, I don't have him on my screen, sorry. Ron,
Yes.
Seth,
Yes.
Kathy K,
Yes, please.
Matthew,
Yes.
Caitlin,
Yes.
Janelle,
Yes.
and Josie.
Yes.
Okay. I think we had 22 yeses. All right, thank you. That passes. So the next resolution, I don't have it written in front of me. I believe it's, I don't know why I have it, I can't find it, but it was to have the principal, Kathy, hold an election at the school with our top 18 now for the students to cast their votes.
I don't see that on the agenda at all. Does anybody else?
It's not in,
I don't have it either.
it's not in writing, but it can be brought up as a motion under new business.
All right, I'll bring it up on the new business. I spoke to Susie and I thought that she was gonna put it on for me, so. All right, so on the new business. Was there anything else here first? Okay, can I bring that up on the new business?
Sorry, I had one question before new business.
Go ahead.
Have we defined a timeline for the subcommittee? Is there a deadline for us to have something for the rest of the committee to look at?
Well, didn't we say it would only take a day or two? You thought you girls could take care of it quickly for us.
Oh, we can. I didn't know if we wanted to formalize it.
Okay, so today's Tuesday. Think
You'll
we
have
can have it by Thursday?
So my understanding was that Melissa had joined the group so that we would let people know what it was that we had done, but that being on the committee would correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa. I'm just kind of
Correct.
paraphrasing.
Yeah, there's no need for the committee this
see
committee
it.
to discuss the form.
We'll make
Correct.
it available.
So as soon as the committee can have it ready.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Am I missing any hands?
Matt's hand.
Yeah, I just, I don't know if this is new business or a resolution, but can you, Mr. Lister, explain to me where this resolution of the Columbus students having a vote, where did that come from?
So it's not binding. It's a I don't want to say mock, but it was to give the students some input as to, it was felt early on that the students should play a role in this somehow.
Where did this originate from? I understand what you're saying, but where did the idea originate from?
So you know what? I don't know exactly. I discussed it with a few people, and I put the resolution forward.
Okay, so it's coming from you then. Okay.
Yes.
I think it might have also been stated by Paul Rousseau in the school committee paperwork, I think. But I don't know for certain 100%. I don't have it in front of me to be, you know.
It was discussed when I was told, when I was discussed taking the chair, and that was it was one of the thoughts that we were talking about was, and I thought it came from the school committee. So yes, that's where it came, as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if we have control over this resolution. I would certainly think we have the control to ask the school to do it, but where it's non-binding and it's not part of this committee, I think it's great information. I would love to have that done by Columbus School, but it's not something that we can enforce as a committee, I don't think.
And I was point of information as well. I would also like to request that whatever information gathering we've got on these 18 names were shared with me so I can share them with the teachers. Because as already been stated this evening, I mean, I learned a lot about the people that I vetted that I never would have known, but I can't expect the teachers to take the time. It's MCAS time and we have a quick turnaround to be able to do all the research that we've already done. So perhaps if we could put together, some kind of document that I could then share with the staff that they could then instruct the students, give them a little feedback that we have, where they're not just blindly voting for a name, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't have a proposal or resolution for this, but 18 names seems like a lot. And I'm just wondering if, given just the time tonight, I like the idea of them having a vote, but maybe further along in the process when we could prepare that kind of document for a shorter list.
Yeah, point of information, I agree with Mr. LaFleur. I mean, if we had a smaller set of numbers as more information down the road.
Okay.
But
I'll withdraw that motion till after we complete next week's work. Okay. I got a few hands up. I'm sorry. One hand up. Couple of thumbs, one hand up. Pat. Hand up.
Yes, I think my concern about us putting forward like a narrative to people, I'm really concerned that we'd be too influential. We would have to agree among ourselves about what 18 statements we're providing to people. Otherwise, I could put a glowing thing together for my top choice and something terrible together for somebody else that I don't think should get it, right? So it's just, I think if people are concerned enough that they need to take the time to do a little bit of research, I don't think anyone's busier than most of the folks on this call.
But I don't see the children being able to do that. It's K through 5. They just don't have the ability. And then it's going to be their parent influence. And now we're not really getting a vote from the children, possibly.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, those are great points, I guess. I just don't know, absent us doing 18 narratives and agreeing to 18 narratives, how we do that. So
it could be a list of links for people to follow, and then they get to evaluate for themselves whether or not they think that the link the content of the link is legit or not, maybe.
And I think the idea that was raised before about narrowing down the list a little bit before we give it to the kids is a really good one. Because then it's not as much work to have the kids learn.
Hopefully after the next meeting.
Why not give them the final 3 names we come up with, and then.
Janelle, did you want to speak?
I was just gonna kind of reiterate that I think the list, it should be a shorter list of for the students to see with information, even if it was just very factual, like this person lived in Medford, something very basic for the students to kind of understand before they vote. But definitely a smaller than 18, I think would be key.
Right, okay, I agree. Thank you. Ron? You have your hand up?
Again, I don't think it's in our purview as a committee. I think Principal K can ask for any resources she wants and creates a survey and gets us that information on her rules. I don't think we should be declaring how the school should run their own survey. So I don't think that this is a resolution for this group where it's going to be non-binding.
All right,
Principal K could simply conduct the survey on her own with her own rules and submit a submission to the site and tell us what the results were. So I don't want to, I think back to Patrick's point, I don't want to influence it in any way and make it, put our name on it as sanctioned because we said it. So that's my opinion.
Okay.
Dan's had his hand up quite a while.
I'm sorry, Dan. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Hendrik.
It's all right. I just want to make a quick comment. As far as the kids in the school go, a good point was made about, them getting influence from their parents. One of the things that I'm personally concerned with is can we receive any backlash from some of the parents that don't want their children involved in this process? I'm sure there's folks in that school that were against all of this. I mean, how do we handle that? What, do we need to come up with a plan for that? Or are we going to just, kind of shoot from the hip and assume everybody wants, participation and changing this name? Personally, I mean, I've talked to a handful of people that, felt negatively from that school community about it. Is this something that we should probably discuss?
Defer to the principal.
So I would like to say that normally when we do things like this in the school, it's voluntary. If the students don't want to participate, they do not have to. And we put it out to everyone, and probably I would use a Google form as well with the names. But I do just want to state again, as everybody has said, it's a very busy time of year. And I'm not asking for statements of opinion about the people. When I vetted my names, I went to websites and I just copied and pasted, lots of dialogue that I took from other people that helped me make my decisions on how I voted. And so I'm just looking for a biographical type thing, because I think we're not going to get what we want from the kids if we don't give that information to the teachers and they have to look it up on their own. It's just going to be much more cumbersome.
Okay. So we've agreed to table that anyway till next meeting. So is there anything else?
I have a quick question for the group. An envelope was left in my mailbox about one of our nominees. It's about 13 pages. I have it. It was given to me, I guess. It's not one of my nominees. It's not anybody I know. Does the group want me to submit this to Susan so you can all see it? Or do you want me to just hold on to it? I've already scanned it in, so it'd be nothing to do. It's an envelope. It says Ron on the envelope.
Oh, it's super creepy.
Yeah. So there's 13 or 14 pages here from what appears to be people who know this person very well. Would you want to see it, or do you want to go through the process? I'll leave it up to you guys.
Is it a person that's on the top 18, Ron?
Yes. I'm not going to send it if somebody doesn't want it, but I can put it on. We can get it put on the shared drive.
I'm curious.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
In a situation like that, would that be considered like additional public comment. And I know in all of the meetings I attend, when you make a public comment, you're supposed to say your name and your address.
The names are on here.
Oh, the person who gave it to you's name is on there?
No,
It's not enough.
no.
That was my question. Like,
It's a very well.
I'm
written-
literally asking, I don't know the answer. Is anonymous commenting allowed from
There are names, there are
a
no
possible
addresses.
citizen?
There are no addresses. Like I said, I don't want to.
That's a little creepy.
Well, it's not as creepy as I'm making it sound, but somebody concerned sent it to me and I don't know this person. And I have this information. It's quality information. It looks like it's all vetted. It looks like it could help you all, in my opinion. But if you want me to hold on to it, I'll hold on to it. And please, the public, no more to my house.
Wow.
Anyways.
Maybe you should just summarize it for us, but not now.
Well, you gotta, I mean, so just, I don't even, do you want to see it or you don't want to see
No,
it?
I don't think through open meeting, I don't think we can from a point of order. I mean, if this is, we had specifically time periods where we solicited public input.
This is not a new name.
What's that?
This would be under the category of what we're doing now with the survey. So.
Right, but it's outside of the methods that we have agreed
All right, I
to
think
as
it's Ron, I'm
as
just,
a group.
I think it's out of order, Ron.
Fine.
All right. Patrick, would you like to speak?
Just briefly, I know we said this will be a discussion for later, but I think that what we need to think about before we send out a vote is this committee ready to go against a vote of the students, right? So if we send out a vote and one of the majority name that's picked is not one of our three, or, if they pick.
I think it's non-binding and it's just,
right, but I'm just saying the public, the public face of it, right, is the kids vote and, our number one pick wasn't submitted, right? So that's a potential issue there. I'm not.
the potential of the survey that we're putting out to the city doing the same thing. That's why we're picking 3.
Okay.
I think in some of the discussions I had with some of the committee members, if I may, sorry, Mr. Lister.
Please, go ahead.
Was that perhaps the one name that got the most votes at the elementary school would come forward to the committee, and that we would then put that forward with whatever we put forward to the school committee. I don't know if that's binding or not, and it was just some discussions I had back and forth. And that way the kids would feel heard in a sense. But if the name wasn't chosen by the committee overall, the school committee, it would be one of the ones we put forward. And then it rested in their hands.
So it would be like 4 names.
Well, we said up
necessarily,
to 3.
like
Didn't
the
we
3
say up to
and
3,
then.
right? So if we pick 3 and we added theirs as the 4th, and one of whatever they pick might be something that we would pick as well.
From a point of order, that wasn't part of our founding documents.
I know, because that's what I did discuss was if the kids are going to vote for a name, oftentimes they're going to think it's the winner. They're little kids. They think if they all vote and they choose the name, it's like, oh, we picked the name of the school. And so we wanted it to be child friendly so that they understood when they were involved, it might not necessarily be the name that's chosen for the school. And that would have to be clear.
I think when we get down to 3 names, that's when we should present to the kids the 3 names. And then present that information to the school committee saying, here are our 3 names that the committee came up with. And by the way, here's what the kids voted on. It's one of our 3 names, or it's a 4th you might want to consider. I don't know.
This point of information, we've tabled this till next week, so maybe we can have that discussion next week.
Yeah, it's food for thought. Okay. Is there anything else? I see hands. Laura?
Sorry, that was an old hand.
Okay. Sorry. Paul? Paul Donato? Would you like to say something?
He says he can't unmute. That's what he said earlier.
Is Paul a co-host?
I am now, I guess, yes. Thank you. I'm all set.
Okay. Ron, is your hand still up or do you want to speak again?
No, I've done enough.
All right. Anybody else? Is there anything else tonight?
Are we meeting again next Tuesday or is the date not yet decided?
I'm not available next Tuesday. I was hoping for next Thursday myself, and I'm hoping that allows enough time for us to get a return on the public survey.
I'm personally not available next Thursday. But if everybody else is, then
Yeah, I'm not available next Thursday either, personally.
I don't know.
maybe we have to do another doodle poll.
We can do that. We have to allow 7 days for the survey to take place, right? Okay.
And, Mr. Lister, I'm assuming after this meeting, we start to vet the top 18, correct? And get our numbers to Ms. Weiss, correct?
Good point. Good point. I guess if we're gonna do another, yes, we're gonna do another rubrics.
We're not allowed to, if we already voted, to vote again.
On the same person.
Right.
So it
So,
would be the rest of them.
right.
Are we we're not going to wait for the community input before we do that again?
In theory, we should, or at least be prepared to look at it once it comes in.
I mean, I don't,
Yeah, why would we vote again without all that information? They're gonna give us more information that might sway our mind another way.
and we already know the 18 anyways. Nothing's going to change. If you rank them, it doesn't really matter.
Correct. So
We can
I-
certainly start researching them.
Yeah,
without ranking
absolutely.
them.
Yes.
100%. That can be done all the time. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Is there anything else? Am I missing any more hands?
I don't see any.
All right, unless someone else has something else here, motion to adjourn in order?
Second.
And
All right, thank you, everybody.
Good night, thank you.
Night, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.